approve tonight's published agenda with the following adjustment, moving item 13 to appear before item 9. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tonight's agenda is approved. We don't have any requests for public input on tonight's published agenda, and we'll move directly then into item number 13, and that is donations. I believe we're going to hand it to Jason.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. We have exciting news for the field house. So there's been a remodeling that's been done there. We've had tons and tons of just positive feedback on the lighting, on the bleacher color. Just it's bright. It's not yellow anymore, and things are moving along nicely in that facility. Our booster club a couple of years ago had the discussion of what could we do more. They have some funds that have been sitting there and trying to figure out something that could be done, and a video board came to mind, and so this is something that's been in the works, or at least been being discussed here for about 18 months. Can't thank Ultra Credit Union enough, Matthew Construction. They're just awesome, contributors, not just to sports, but to our school district. And then also, we have the best booster club in the state of Wisconsin, the Midwest, or whatnot, with the Onalaska Booster Club, to put that type of financial commitment, not just towards a game day atmosphere, but also for our student athletes who will be excited. Also, there's an educational component for any students, who have an interest in digital media in the future, that they'll be able to create videos and run the video board during games and whatnot. That means Goody's going to have to learn how to learn a new system, but we'll make that work. So, hopefully with the acceptance of these donations tonight, we can get the video board ordered, and, at a minimum, it'll be ready to go for next school year. So it's about 19 and a half feet by 8 feet tall. It's very large, and it's going to be a great addition, not just for sports, but all events. And it'll also be a way to also create some funding in the Booster Club, and as we all know well, how much they give back to our students each year. So we're excited about it. It's new water. We appreciate the board and their support in this project. Ultra and Matthew could not send folks tonight, so I want to publicly thank both of them. I know you as well. I'm sure Aaron will as well. But we do have Liz Ramsey here tonight. She's the president of the board of the Onalaska Booster Club. She's the president, and she's here to say a few words as well.
Thank you. I'm also a 7th grade teacher, so I wrote some notes so that I could be more concise, as my brain is a little mushy after a long day. Do want to express our gratitude and say thank you. Adding a digital display board to the field house is one of the athletic boosters' larger goals, so we are so happy to be able to use our sole mission as a fundraising organization to provide a substantial amount towards the purchase. We are equally as excited to broaden and strengthen our community partnerships, as Jason has mentioned, by securing financial commitments from both Maddie Construction and Ultra Credit Union. Despite this large contribution, the boosters' savings accounts are doing very well. We are about halfway through a very successful fundraising school year and look forward to finishing up the year with more fundraising. This will allow not only the boosters to continue to dream big with big projects like this digital board, but also to continue to support our teams, our coaches, our student athletes. So I would just like to extend a thank you to the school board for your continuous support that you show in so many ways to our Onalaska high school students. Thank you.
Well, I think it's this body that needs to be thanking you and your organization, as well as Matthew and Ultra this evening. It's really just very impressive, and I love, Jason, the notes that you made related to job skills training, driving interest through digital media, and that just as a personal reflection, I remember a gentleman I went to school with who had that opportunity and now is a producer for ESPN, right? So, it really can create the foundation for a career. It's really exciting.
I'll make a motion to approve the donations, $25,000 from Matthew Construction for a scoreboard, $49,000 from Ultra Federal Credit Union for a scoreboard, and $100,000 from the Onalaska Athletic Booster Club for a scoreboard at the OHS Gymnasium.
I'll second.
Motion by Bridget, second by Eric, to approve the following donations: $25,000 from Matthew Construction, $49,000 from Ultra Federal Credit Union, and $100,000 from the Onalaska Athletic Booster Club, all for the purchase of a new scoreboard for the OHS Gymnasium. Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? With much gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Very much, yeah.
Okay, we'll turn then to recognition item number 9, which is also donations. Hand it over to you, Ben.
Okay, thank you very much. It is with great pride that I share these following donations. $212.18 from the Knights of Columbus for On Ability Program. $500 from the Liuna Laborers Local 140 for the Student Lunch Fund. And we had an opportunity to meet with them last week. I think they came around at about 5 o'clock and presented a check to us. So they were great, and we thank them. And lastly, groceries, 128 each of cereal, noodles, sauce, and vegetables from Dow Automotive for the district holiday meal drive.
All fantastic donations, and very much appreciated, especially, as we look here to the holidays and the activities the district has planned related to that. So with much thanks to the Knights of Columbus, Liuna Laborers Local 140, and Dow Automotive. Let's move to our first discussion item. And I think, Ben, you're going to start. We have administrator and student.
Yeah, I know it's unusual for the superintendent to give an update, but I asked Aaron if he'd allow me to do so. It's mostly just because I don't want the board to be surprised. I've alluded to this in some of my written updates to you. But as we're being transparent, we know that we have been having decline in enrollment, and as your new superintendent, we've been exploring different ways that we could try and capture and attract other students from across the state of Wisconsin to potentially come and consider us as their educational best option. And one of those ways is to consider starting an online school. And as we've learned about this and what it would take to start an online school, we found that in the state of Wisconsin, you have to start a charter school to be able to do that. And to be able to start a charter school, you need to have a governing board, if you would, that would provide oversight for the charter. And that governing board has to be made up of a majority of what they call a third party. And really, the definition of that is anyone who's not employed by the school district. Okay. The reason why I'm bringing this forward to you is, in a perfect world, I would have I would have already presented this entire concept and vision to the board before I would start talking about this publicly. However, for us to be able to even consider doing it, I need to see if there's any interest to have a third party participate in a charter governing board. Therefore, I just wanted you to be aware that for me to be able to do that, I need to be able to start having conversations with those that may have an interest to see if this is a feasible option or not for us, okay? With the idea that we will spend as much time as possible with you to provide all of the details associated with this. We're very much in the infancy stages of this, but for us to even consider it, we have to have a charter school, and for me and us to be able to do that, we need to be able to start talking to people. So I just wanted to give you more of a heads up that we're going to start having some conversations, and my hope is to either present in a regular board meeting or have a board development session at one of our meetings in January to kind of share everything that would be involved with this, including us potentially partnering with another organization called Venture Upward. And if I were to do that and have a presentation to you, I would invite them to come and be here in person to be able to share a little bit about their programming and what they have to offer. So thank you very much.
Appreciate the transparency. I think it's really important as we go through that whole evaluation and discernment process. So.
I have a quick question. How many, do you have any idea, I know it's still very high level, but do you know kind of how many people you're looking for this board?
Well,
Is that too
yeah,
early?
to have, the only definition, a requirement is you need to have a majority of the board has to be from a third party. So hypothetically, if we had two people affiliated with the district, we'd need to have 3 people that were not affiliated with the district. So in my head, as a starting point, I would be looking for at least 3 people. It certainly can be more than that, but that's where my head is as a starting point.
Thank you.
It's commendable, Ben. I think that we named the problem right up front, that there's a decreasing enrollment. We named that, and then the levers that you're looking at and the team's looking at are creative and they're impactful. So being bold has risk, but the idea that we're taking that on as we are, like we did with ELA, there's an issue, we're going to look at it as a team and we're going to turn it around. We're not seeing it as a fait accompli. That's great. That's something to celebrate, that kind of innovation. So, yeah, that's great stuff.
Karina this evening wasn't able to attend due to the orchestra concert that'll be starting shortly at the high school, so she sent her best and will be back in January after the concert season's over. This Wednesday during our staff meeting, one of our topics that we have is the use of AI by both staff and students. And as I talked to quite a few juniors and seniors to ask the question, how are you leveraging AI to improve your learning? It was fascinating that one of the most common things that came up is kind of how it can take student self-assessment and put it on steroids, where students are specifically using a language they can create an additional formative for themselves to understand what it is they know, what they need to learn more, and then that other piece of when my teacher's not available late at night and I'm struggling, it's a way of getting help like I might get help within a class period. So part of that will be part of our meeting, and then the other part of it will be a couple of staff members sharing here specifically how we've used AI within our classes to improve learning or improve our efficiency so that we could work more with students and less with the other pieces.
So a couple things from activities. Winter sports are up and going, and we've had some really good crowds so far. A highlight has been we had a winter community night similar to the fall that was put on by boys basketball and some donors from the community. That was a great showing and a great way to kick things off. And then finally, just a large number of students who just continue to give back to our community. Nick Ragnar does a wonderful job on our social media platform of showing our students giving up some of their good to make somebody else's day great, and we just have such a large number of students that are willing to do that in our community, and very thankful for that.
Thank you.
Yes. At the middle school, a number of things to highlight tonight. First of all, in the area of continuous improvement, I was doing an observation in our sixth grade, one of our sixth grade math classes today, and they were using the hallway. They had made in groups projects on very large graph paper, graphing systems of equations as groups, and they had them out and they were doing a gallery walk through the hallway, and then they actually sat down in the hallway and started discussing what they noticed, and Mrs. Reuter, who was the teacher, she did a great job, clarifying inconsistencies, but making them, do the talking, do the learning first, and so it was very great observation today. A lot of good things going on in math class there. In the area of belonging, some of our eighth grade teachers have organized a bit of an intramural volleyball tournament going on during topper time over the next couple of weeks leading up to the staff versus students volleyball game on the 23rd at our assembly at the end of the day, and so that's a fun, exciting thing a lot of kids are excited about. And then finally, our music department gets to show off this week. I know some of you will be there Thursday night. Our music department always does a fantastic job helping students excel in the arts. And so that'll be on full display Thursday, and we're looking forward to a great concert. Or concerts, I should say.
Thank you. I think, Abby, you're going to start.
Yep.
Rolling?
Yep, just a couple of things for elementary. Our second graders are headed to the Nutcracker at Viterbo on Friday, so looking forward to that. And just to highlight too, we have 2 OHS students, Sophia and Caitlin, who are sharing the role of Maria, so looking forward to seeing them as well. We're also wrapping up our Ames assessment for K through third graders, sharing results, progress notes, and then updates around personal reading plans with families before break. And then just highlighting a couple of fun things that are happening as we approach winter break. Last Wednesday, the 3rd, was the 67th day of school. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's very exciting for our elementary kids. We did a couple of things around 6, 7, so a lot of fun there. And then also just, we have things coming up like our reindeer games, all school sing-alongs, cookie decorating, gingerbread houses and things as we wrap up the year.
Appreciate all of you getting into that.
It was a lot of fun. It was.
Okay, our next item would be an update on building projects, high school and Onapel. Start with you, Jared.
We anticipate being largely into our music area by the middle to end of next week, and then hopefully full movement into there by the end of Christmas break. We're waiting on some repairs in a locker room that'll happen sometime in January or early February. Otherwise, much of the big pieces of Phase 1 are done at this point, other than the punch list.
Great, thank you. And Kelly.
I have some pictures. We'll see if they are able to pop up. But the Anna Pal's building, it's pretty much completely finished besides the main entrance. So they moved in the day we got back from fall break. So just pictures of learning spaces, thinking about, the students are thinking about ways to kind of individualize those learning spaces that they each have. That's one of the main learning spaces there. So you can see Phil's added just some calming things to it. It doesn't look like a white-walled construction room anymore. And so we've just got the 2 big learning spaces. All of the individual learning spaces are done, some quiet rooms, and so it's starting to finally feel like home for all of them. Yes.
Great update. Thank you. Team, any questions for Jared or Kelly? All right, let's move on into pre-kindergarten program, and we'll continue to discuss the possibility of that. We'll start with you, Ben.
Okay, so I'm going to frame this, and I'm going to turn it over to Lish and other team members to present. But we've been having discussions, I think, for more than just this year on the idea of potentially going to an all-day, everyday 4K option. At the beginning of this year, our team worked to create a task force to analyze this, and they put lots of hours into looking at everything associated with this. That was at a starting point. Then we had an opportunity to brief the board and have this discussion in a board development session. And then just in a sequence of events, we did share this out with our community and our families, and we did get some feedback from them that we'll be sharing with you either tonight or tomorrow. And now we wanted to invite the public to come and listen or give feedback in a public forum in an information agenda item, which we're doing tonight. And depending on where the board wants us to take this, there could be a potential vote on this at a future board meeting. So that said, I'm going to turn it over to Lish, and she's going to walk you through.
Thank you. So again, a lot of this is stuff that we've shared with the board, so if I am not giving enough detail, please feel free to jump in and ask questions. But some of the potential change drivers that we looked at really were that some of our area programs have moved to a full-day program this year. Last year, La Crosse County Head Start moved to full day. That was 15 students who would have otherwise come to pre-K that did not. And then this year, La Crosse and GET moved to a full-day pre-K program. And then just in the last month, sounds like West Salem is moving to an all-day pre-K program. So many of our neighbors are moving to that. And in communication with CISA 4, it sounds like we might become an island if we didn't go this way compared to our neighbors. we've had questions from parent and community members, as long as I have been in the district, about the half-day being a bit of a hardship for some families to find care for the other half of the day. So that's something we've heard from parents or community members as well. And then this year, the Department of Children and Families are releasing something called the Get Kids Ready Act, which causes daycares who may partner with districts at this time to make a choice to either maintain their partnership with the district or take the DCF funding route to become their own pre-K site. But if they take that, they cannot partner with the district. And that is something that our partner sites are trying to weigh the impact of which of those funding streams feels more secure for them for what they're doing. We also, as Ben shared, are looking to increase our enrollment, or at the very least to maintain the enrollment that we have, and trying to do that through open enrollment is one of the things that we're looking at. And in general, as we talk with our teaching staff about this, the feeling is that some longer time in the day to work on school readiness should have a positive impact on our achievement in the longer run. Now, nobody thinks that just putting 4-year-olds on the carpet all day is going to be something that improves that. It would have to be developmentally appropriate, and that's really the biggest question that our teaching staff have had, is how can we ensure that that full day is doing that work on the school readiness for social emotional literacy and making sure that they're ready to come to school. So for any questions that anybody has about if we're going to have the children on the carpet or in a chair all day, that would not be a plan that I would approve of. So it'd have to be developmentally appropriate. To share some information just about our enrollment trends, we know that declining enrollment is an issue that we are taking a look at, but really in the past 5 years, our pre-K enrollment has declined faster than the rest of our other grade levels. And so we have gone from having 5.5 teacher FTEs to 3 teacher FTEs just over the past 5 years. And our partner site enrollment has maintained pretty similar enrollment levels. They're down a little bit as well. But currently we have about 55 kiddos that are at a partner site for their pre-K enrollment. We currently spend for our pre-K staffing about $450,000. Each building has one full-time teacher who teaches 2 sections, a morning section and an afternoon section. And then they have paraprofessionals at Eagle Bluff this year have 1 full-time paraprofessional. Typically, we do 2 part-times that overlap in the middle to support transportation. If we had a full day, we wouldn't have the midday transportation. So there are many things that our work group has looked at of, we wouldn't need this anymore, but then it might need to shift to something like this if we went to a full day. So there's some give and take with those things. Then what we prepared is just an estimate of kind of a low end and a high end of how much additional staffing cost would we have if we were to go to a full day program. And this does not include special education staffing because that's very unpredictable for us to know who might come in and have those needs. And this also does take into account that not all of our buildings have as much space to add another classroom. So at Irving Perch, for example, they might only have space to add 1 additional pre-K classroom, where Northern Hills and Eagle Bluff might have more room as they have seen more of the declining enrollment impact the number of sections they have at each grade level. So a low-end estimate, if we were to add 2 additional teachers, would be just under $400,000. And then a high-end estimate, this was prepared with taking all of the potential 4-year-olds that are in our community. So whether they're in our building or at a partner site or at a daycare, could be upwards to about $800,000 if we took them all into the building here. And just a reminder that our 4-year-olds are not a full amount from the state. They're at that 60% that we have reimbursed for their student FTE. The open enrollment trends for our pre-K to kindergarten, you can see over the past 8 years, we have a lot of kids that open enroll in for pre-K, and that's typically the ones that maybe are not our residents, but they attend one of those daycare sites that partners with us. But then our open enrollment out is also a hefty number that would be nice to be able to capture. And only about half of them come back to us when they open and roll out, so that's something that we would want to try to keep those kids instead of having them open and roll out and then potentially stay in another district instead of coming back to us. Specifically, this shows the districts that they are coming from and the districts that they are going to. So we do get some open enrollment in from other districts, but we did have 8 that open enrolled to La Crosse this year. And this table actually needs a little update. We have 2 that have open enrolled to GET this year. At the time that we originally did this work, there was 1, but since have had another one that has left us to go to that full day program in GET. And then, Janet, I probably will just turn this over to you and let you explain the revenue limit contribution, because this is your wheelhouse for sure. But Janet prepared kind of a estimate of if we brought a student in under either our resident or open enrollment and they stayed with us, what does that look like for their whole school career as far as that contribution for the revenue limit?
Yeah, so I'll take this, what's on the left-hand side of the table first. And that is, let's assume, because these are actual numbers for revenue limit, for our resident student, when we take into consideration the per pupil aid, if they were in 4K, so assuming we had all-day 4K back in 2011-12, what we would have gotten for our per pupil revenue limit and then the per pupil aid, because there's 2 different parts that we're now having for funding. So these are actual numbers, this is real, and if we would have had this program for one student back in 2011-12 to the time that they graduated, so they came with us then, and then they graduated, that would have been an additional $141,969.06 for one student. So obviously, we just take that number and then compound it. Then taking that history of where we were or have been for revenue limit per student and the per pupil aid and projecting that into the future. So assuming we start the program, and this is assuming that we start the program this year, which it would be really the next year, but projecting that forward, the average yearly increase over that time period was 2.52%. So projecting that forward, moving forward, it'd be 201,147.24, projecting forward. Then the other piece of that, so where that's talking about the students who reside in our school boundaries, and then there's another way to look at it through open enrollment lens as well. So for that side, that's the right-hand side of this formula. And as you can see, when you look down to the average yearly increase, that open enrollment has been increasing at a more rapid rate than the revenue limit. And especially going forward, like as an example, for this next budget year, our resident students will get $325 more per student, but the open enrollment students will be $928. So that open enrollment is where the growth is happening, so that's why we're looking at programs to try to capture more of that open enrollment. It really helps us with services, maintaining the services we have and serving all of our students better. So again, same logic on how this was calculated, going back to 11-12, when that student came in, and projecting that forward through 12th grade, 104,874.20, and then projecting that forward assuming past trends, our indication of how we will be moving in the future, projecting that forward, the future value is 645.56 per student. So again, then we just take that and multiply it by how many students that we think that we could come. So from a financial perspective, in my opinion, it makes sense, but even probably more important from a programmatic and a service from our, for what we can do to our community, is your business manager, I highly recommend moving forward in this as an avenue for just our strategic planning.
So that's what we have compiled to share with you, but any questions that you might have, we'd be happy to field those for you.
I don't have questions on that, but there was mention of some feedback from the community. Is that being shared this evening, or?
We were going to send that in an email to you so that you would have the results of that survey. And I would just, let me preface this by, when we send out, it was in our Climbing Together newsletter, and hopefully read it, because we took a lot of time on that, and we were proud of it. And we know that we had a lot of readership on that, and we just had like an open link if for anyone who wanted to respond, and I think we had like 34 people respond.
34 responses, and it was really a quick survey. Do you have a student that you might be enrolling in a 4K program in the next couple of years? And do you support a full day, yes or no? And then any comments, questions, feedback that they had.
And the Climbing Together goes to current families, right? So this is all people who have.
All families.
Who
Yep.
already have a student in the district
Yes.
currently. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have a question. What's the next phase of this? Like, what is the next point where decisions will be made as far as moving forward?
Well, we're somewhat in a holding pattern because the board really would need to make a decision if this is something that you would like to see us move forward with. We've done the pre-work, and we've tried to provide the information to you and drip that out. We certainly can, after this meeting, we could do an additional information session, or when the time is right, we would like to see the board take a vote on this and give direction to the administrators on whether or not to proceed with this.
Okay. I had shared during like our development meeting talking about this, just that historically our community has repeatedly invested in our future children that are going to take care of us someday or provide services to us. And so my personal feelings are just to support that, to support what the community continues to do, continue to support the kids and, give the full day option.
And the half-days will still exist with our partner sites.
Correct. So part of why we are bringing this to you a little bit out of order with the Norman budget sequence is just asking for a decision before that February 1st timeline that those daycares and partner sites would need to make that choice between remaining a partner or going the Department of Children and Families route. That doesn't mean that you have to, that it's done by then and you don't get to choose again, but just wanting to be good partners and give them the best information they have to plan as well. Anybody that is wanting to remain a partner, as long as they're maintaining the terms of the contract, we'd be happy to maintain that partnership, and then any families requesting that half-day, be able to direct them toward that half-day option. What we have heard in some feedback from some of the other districts who have maintained a half-day option is that most of the families that started with a half-day option ended up going into the full day after a month or two. So I don't know how many will want to choose that half-day option, but I do know that there are some families and some children that just feel like their child isn't ready for it, and we'd want to make sure that we have that option available for them.
Sure, yeah, and we've been really communicating with those partner sites adequately so they know where we're at, and
Yep.
they're going to have to make their decision
Yep.
February 1st, apparently.
Yes, yep. And, they, in the community, seeing some of the other districts that have gone to that full-day option and being able to hear from their like partners in other districts, they all have said, well, we knew that eventually this might happen. So they just want to make the best decision they can for themselves as a business as well.
I'd be curious, you touched a little bit on it, but just the feedback that we've gotten from the existing 4K teachers, what have the vibes been? Have they been supportive? Have there been concerns?
Just initially talking with Val Olson, who's our 4K teacher, she shared kind of the same sentiment that this is coming, and so just had questions very specifically about logistics, like what does this mean in the classroom? She's a problem solver, as I would imagine others are as well, so just looking at the detail of the 4K full-day program is where her headspace is at right now.
Yeah, kind of all of our discussions, whether it's been with our 4K teachers or the partner sites, have been, we have kind of two plans, depending on which direction we go. And one is all those logistics that they have questions about, like when do we make sure that we eat and the children eat, and do we want rest period and those kinds of things. That's all stuff that I want our 4K teachers to be working very closely with us because they're the experts in 4-year-olds. But then also, if that's not the direction we go, what are the things that we can maybe improve or do differently, as we do with all of our continuous improvement, to just make sure that we're offering the best program possible for our 4-year-olds. So Ben mentioned, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We have two possible plans, and we're just waiting to pick which direction we're going and then get started on it.
Yeah, and I think the first phase was analyzing this, what do we need? We need to think everything soup to nuts, every possible angle associated with doing this, and then, present that to the board, and that if the board hypothetically were to approve this to move forward, then we would change completely our process. We would bring in additional stakeholders, and it would be more of a planning, procedural kinds of work that would happen. So we would expand our task force to more of the team members that work in this area day to day.
I guess one piece of what you also said, Lish, was that need for something the other half of the day. So if we can provide a really quality experience for those children for a whole day, that certainly will help out a lot of families.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm curious to see what the feedback was, Mark. My assumption as somebody who had 2 kids go through half-day 4K in our district, this really does get to the mission of higher levels of learning for all, just starting at a younger age. It's going to help serve our families better. I think it's also important to note, I had asked at our last meeting too, and I just want to reiterate it for those who may not be in the know listening, but this is not compulsory. So people, if they're not comfortable and their kid's not ready for this, this is definitely not something they would be obligated to participate in.
It's a really good point.
I guess I have a discussion with Janet every 2 weeks before our board meeting as the treasurer, and, we've had some discussions specifically about this, and I'm comfortable with the financial information. And I told her today, just as her comment was earlier, it's not just the numbers, but if we can make it work out, it's a great service to our community. Same as what Tracy is saying. Our community has been very supportive with most everything we have asked for.
So there's a little, I would think the next step would be, we would consider if we're ready, this would likely land on an agenda here in January. Right?
Yeah, if the board was supportive, I would work with President McDonald, and we would have this be on probably the first agenda in January as a vote. And you certainly would have between now and then to send emails with questions, and then we would get those answered for the entire board. I think that I think we all acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of positives to this. Any perceived negative potentially would be around the financial side of this. We know that we would be serving students and adding additional expenditures while only getting 60% aid from the state. That is something that we just need to weigh as it compares to all of our expenditures in the district, but also weigh that really thinking about what the expense would be if we were not to provide this as an option, given the fact that there are several of our neighbors that are doing this. And it would certainly leave us at a competitive disadvantage in terms of attracting, families and 4-year-olds to come to us versus another place that would have that as an option. And in addition to that, I would also say that it would be in our best interest as a board to advocate with our legislators to increase the level of funding for 4K.
Team, any other questions or comments? Okay. We'll move on then to an action item. Action item 14, we don't have a second meeting here in December as typical, and Janet, I think you have a request for us.
Yes, and this is not unique for this year.
Correct.
Every year when we do not have a second meeting, we make a request for release of checks so that our vendors can be timely paid.
I would make the motion that we approve a check release for the, due to the lack of a second meeting in December.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Tracy to approve the release of necessary checks and payments prior to January 1st, 2026 to ensure timely payments to our vendors. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Thank you. Are there any requests to remove items from the consent agenda for separate consideration?
Seeing none, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian, second by Tracy to approve the consent agenda as presented. I know we want to take a moment here for some discussion points. I'm going to hand it over to the administrator, so I think we have a couple of resignation requests.
Bridget Hubbard is a little unique. She spent her entire educational career in the school district of Onalaska at Onalaska High School, in the same room until this year. So pretty unique in that sense, and as much hilltopper as you'll find. The things you think about with Bridget, graduation and scholarship, she's been at every single graduation ceremony save the first year she was in the district, and she had a good reason. She got married that weekend, so she missed for that, but otherwise, she's been the face of graduation, she's been the face of scholarship program, done a fabulous job. But the last 8 or 9 years, she's really had a passion for our servant leadership program at OHS. When that started in area schools, she's done a great job with it. And then more recently, the last 3 years as our WOW coach, and has really rejuvenated that time for high school staff. 100% a hilltopper.
Big shoes to fill.
Yes, absolutely.
We have a transition plan, I hope.
There is.
An important one, yeah. And then I think we have one of them.
Yep. And then also Steph Conway is a technology teacher at all 3 elementary schools. So speaking on behalf of Northern and Eagle Bluff and Perch, just about Steph Conway, she started teaching in Onalaska 31 years ago at the high school, after teaching 5 years at Eau Claire North High School, spending 5 years as business education department at the high school, or 19 years, excuse me, at the high school, and then moved to elementary for the past 12 years. So she has a very unique role in the district, the only elementary teacher to work with all K-5 elementary students, which equates to about 1,150 students per year that she works with. And then just thinking about how technology has changed over the past 12 years alone. Desktops were mainly how people access internet, social media, and smartphones were new. Technology, as far as internet access, was mainly dial-up or broadband, and then Amazon was known for books. So Steph is someone who has evolved with technology over the past 12 years and has helped our youngest students to learn everything from basic computer vocabulary to keyboarding and coding. So just a remarkable educator, and on behalf of all our elementary schools just recognize her as a highly structured, very calm, cool, collected problem solver, highly organized educator to help to make technology fun for all kids. So she shared that some of her current students are the children of former students, and so she sometimes calls them by the names of their moms and dads. So she thinks that now is a good time to retire. And we also asked her what she's looking forward to most, and she paused and just said, sleeping in on a cold, snowy winter morning, especially on a Monday like today. So she's looking forward to that, and we just wish her all the best as she finishes her last year across all of our buildings.
Thank you, Abby. I think it's an important moment to just pause and, like 2 educators who basically spent their entire careers with us here at Onalaska. I know it's not not necessarily unique in a given year to have a retiree, that's done that, but it's a special place, and there's a couple of special people that have spent that time with us, so. Any other questions or comments, team? All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. The Board of Education will now entertain a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Sections 118.125 of the Wisconsin statutes and Section 19.85, parents 1, D, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes as appropriate to evaluate and act on a student disciplinary matter and to discuss individual safety drills and related information. The board may take action in closed session. The board will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at the conclusion of closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Brian.
Yes.
To enter into closed session matter and to discuss individual safety drills per the statute.
Mark?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Aaron?
Yes. We'll convene in closed session in 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, we can stand here.
Oh, yeah, we stay here? Yeah, okay.